Good morning. Welcome everybody here. Before we go on this journey today, I want everybody to kind of take a moment and get grounded in today and in this experience. So it's Saturday morning, it's 10 o'clock in the morning. Maybe many of you have had hectic weeks, hectic mornings. Maybe you had trouble getting out of bed, or you had traffic on your way over, or you had trouble getting the kids to get dressed, whatever it is. Just put all that aside and just be here with me. Just let's all try to be here together and try to maybe think of your favorite animals, one of your favorite animals. And you can close your eyes, keep your eyes open, but try to visualize one of those animals. Try to think about it in its environment. Try to imagine the air that you feel. Take deep breaths. Try to be here. Visualize this animal. It's looking at you. Feel the wind, the sounds, the smells of it, and try to hang with that thought for a moment. Try to imagine how you feel and be here so that today we can all engage together. Let's forget everything else and let's be here together. Because that's what today is about. Today is about engaging. It's about being present. Today is about being inspired. It's about connecting with one another. And it's going to be a fantastic journey. And so it's really important to find the time to engage in the things that we love and to intentionally make that time so that we can be present. I could tell you all about the number of animals, of a number of species that are disappearing or the threats that they're facing. But I think you already know this, and we don't need to be hearing about more doom and gloom. We need to be focused on hope. And what gives me hope is seeing this auditorium nearly packed. What gives me hope is that you're all here because you care. You're all here because you have this passion for wildlife. What gives me hope are all the conservationists that we're going to hear today, who are going to share their stories, their inspiring stories about overcoming the challenges that they face in the field, about finding creative solutions for people and wildlife to coexist and thrive. We all have something in common. We're all united by this passion for wildlife, and we all have something to contribute. And so I invite you to engage with one another, to meet your neighbors, to go and meet all the people here, because when we work together, we can really make a big difference for wildlife and for the communities that share their environment. You all have something to contribute. You may not know what it is yet, or you may already do know what it is. Maybe some of you will become wildlife conservationists. Maybe some of you will volunteer for an organization. Maybe some of you will be writing checks. Maybe some of you already are doing all those things, and that's great. But today is a great opportunity to find out what it is that you want to do to engage and join our movement to protect wildlife. And so I thank you for all the things you've already done, and I thank you for all the things that you'll do in the future. I want to take a few minutes just to tell you a little bit about the Wildlife Conservation Network. We exist to save wildlife. We believe that conservation entrepreneurs who are based in the field are uniquely placed to do this because they live and breathe the realities of finding collaborative solutions with communities that share the environment with these beautiful animals. We were created in 2002 as an efficient and effective organization to try to bridge these passionate conservationists with equally passionate people like yourselves. Because when we create these bonds, we're able to help these conservationists achieve their missions better and faster. And that's what it's all about. We've been able to do this really well, thanks to your generosity. Since its inception in 2002, you all have contributed $120 million for WCN to support efforts in the field. So I want to thank you for this incredible generosity. And at WCN, we really believe in transparency. So if you designate your contribution for a particular species, we'll guarantee that 100% of that contribution goes to a project in the field for that species. We also believe in efficiency, so 90% of our expenses go towards our programmatic expense. Charity Navigator, which ranks over 8,000 different charities, gave WCN its first perfect score and has it currently ranked as its #1 wildlife conservation organization. We've had a really exciting year at WCN. It's been a really busy year. And as I said, we exist to save wildlife, and so we do so in a number of different ways. We invest in conservation entrepreneurs. We have a core network of 17 long-term partners, and we invest in their organization for the long term. And they're really the heart of WCN, and they're all here today. They'll all be on the stage. I invite you to go and meet them. They all do extraordinary work. And sometimes there are conservation challenges that really require more than a single organization, that require all of us to pull together so that we can have an impact and make a difference across the entire range of a species, across all those threats. And that's what's inspired WCN to create wildlife crisis and recovery funds. And we've had tremendous success and progress with numerous projects within the Elephant Crisis Fund, the Lion Recovery Fund, and we're really, really delighted to be able to launch a Pangolin Crisis Fund in May of this year. We also like to have a pretty big tent, and there are many more organizations that we would like to support that we can't support, and this is why every year we invite some guest speakers so that they can share their work with all of you. And so this year, we're really pleased to have the opportunity to introduce you to a number of those guest speakers. We'll have Hutan, who works with orangutans. We'll have Mariset, who works with dugongs and dolphins in Malaysia. The Macaw Recovery Network, working with macaws in Costa Rica. And we'll have a Tiki Highwood Foundation, who is one of the first grantees of the Pangolin Crisis Fund. Their presentation is actually happening upstairs, but I think you all chose the right session to be into here. I'll say this a bit later, but maybe I'll just get it over with now. Actually, if people want to always wonder what kind of presentation they want to attend, all these presentations are currently live streamed on Facebook and YouTube, and you can watch them later. So you can catch up with all those different organizations. We also have opportunities to display what happens when you invest in the future of conservation. And let's face it, this is something that we're in for the long haul. So it's really important to invest in the next generation. WCN is proud to have a scholarship program. We've supported over 110 different scholars from numerous countries to pursue a degree in conservation biology or something related to conservation. And a couple of them will be up on stage or at some of the conservationist table, and I invite you to go and meet them. And then we're really proud to have been growing our community of supporters. It's quite extraordinary to see all of you here. It was extraordinary yesterday to see 2,400 people at the Masonic Theater to listen to Jane Goodall and then be introduced to all the conservationists. We've had more and more people wanting to join this effort, not just here in the Bay Area. People have flown in from all parts of the country to be here. I see people in the room actually who have flown in from Europe and other places just to attend the Expo. That's the kind of reach, that's the kind of interest that really gives me hope. WCN is present on all the different social media channels, so you can follow us on Facebook, on Instagram, and as I said, all of these talks are being live streamed there. So I want to take a few minutes to talk about today and how to make the most of today. Today's a really special day. It is a journey. You're going to travel. You're going to meet conservationists from all over the world. You're going to meet fellow supporters from all over the world as well. And so I invite you to connect with all those people. I want to see, and I do this every year, but I think there's value in repeating it. I want to see how many of you are attending your first Expo. Please raise your hand for, wow. So I want to give you a big, big round of applause. Thank you for joining us. And I want to show you just what kind of community you've joined. So can you raise your hand if you've attended 2 Expos or more? Okay. Now keep your hand up if you've attended 5 Expos or more. And keep your hand up if you've attended 10 Expos or more. Fantastic. More or less. Okay. So we've had people who've attended, I think, all 18 Expos. I mean, this is a community that is deeply committed. And so I want you to go and meet all these people. you're not alone. I think when you go to a party, maybe you're kind of one of a few people who really cares about wildlife, but these are your people. This is where it all happens. I want to know also how many people are here because a friend invited you to come today. Okay, that's really, really great. So a huge thank you for coming, and a huge thank you to your friends who invited you. And now, that's the job that you all have for next year. Okay, everybody has to bring a friend. We've got to grow this community, and ideally we'll also be able to grow it in other parts of the country. There are 1,200 people here today. There are a number of conservation organizations that are not going to be on stage that are exhibiting. There are about 60 groups outside. I invite you to go and meet all of them. They all do extraordinary work. We do like to have a really big tent at WCN. And so go out and take advantage of this, network. Maybe you want to work locally. Maybe you want to work internationally. Maybe you want to support local efforts versus international efforts. This is your palette to choose from. So go and meet all those organizations. They all do really, really fantastic work. I think I'm getting to a point in my presentation where I have to run through a couple of housekeeping items, so hopefully I'm not going to forget any. That's why I have my little notes here. I think everybody can find the bathrooms. There are bathrooms in the building, so you know that. We're going to have lunch, all the lunches. You need a lunch ticket in order to get lunch. The lunches, I've been told, are supposed to be plastic-free, so let's hope that's true. At least they should be compostable. If you can't get one of our lunches, there are a couple of opportunities nearby. You can ask one of us to direct you, but you could go and get some food. We want to make sure that people stay through the whole day. We've got some fantastic talks scheduled all the way through the end of the day, so stay hydrated, stay well fed, and then to entice you to stay longer, if you leave between, I think, 4:30 and 6:45, parking will actually be free. We'll open up the gates. You can exit the parking lot pretty easily. Several years ago, we had a bit of an issue with a huge parking traffic jam, so we're going to avoid that. But please do stay throughout the whole day. And I know I'm going to forget some of my housekeeping items. Some of the obvious: turn off your cell phones. I asked one of my colleagues to bring a cowbell. I don't know if Kylie. So, can you ring the cowbell? So when you hear the cowbell somewhere in the main hall, that means that you should wrap up whatever discussion you're having, transactions you're making, buying things. It's going to be time to restart one of the talks. So when you hear the cowbell, come back in. I believe I've covered all those points. Yes. So finally, I want to thank a number of people. I want to thank all of our sponsors. The Sacramento Zoo, the Houston Zoo, San Diego Zoo, Safari West. I want to thank the Gordon Betty Moore Foundation, Disney Conservation Fund, the Tom Leyden Conservation Fund, and the International Crane Foundation. I want to thank them for their support that makes this event possible. So a big round of applause to all of our sponsors. I also want to thank all of the WCN staff. It's been doing an extraordinary work preparing for this event and for a number of events, and who engage with you throughout the whole year. They absolutely love being able to connect you with your conservation interests, with your passion. So reach out to one of us. We have a plastic name tag, or we look a little tired and haggard. That's the WCN conservation staff. So go and find them, ask them questions, and try to find a way to get engaged. I also want to thank all our volunteers. We've got over 100 volunteers who make these events possible. Without them, we wouldn't be able to put on these events, and we certainly wouldn't be able to put them on as efficiently and ensure that as much money goes out into the field. So a huge thank you to all our volunteers. And finally, I again want to thank all of you. Without you, we can't do any of this. And it's not just your contributions, it's not just your volunteering, it's not just your engagement. The simple fact that you care, the simple fact that you came here, that you're engaging with people, it inspires us, and more importantly, it inspires not just the conservationists who are going to be on stage, but they can take that back home and they can share it with their team, they can share it with their community members, people who have no idea that there are 2,000 people, 3,000 people or more who are really interested in what they do, who are really interested and who really care about the hard choices that those people make to live in harmony with wildlife. So thank you for inspiring us and inspiring them and coming here today. Thank you. So Rocio will be at her table. I just want to share a few final thoughts before you all leave your seat. Please bear with me. I was just approached right before the session by a young woman who wanted to know how to get involved in this field. And in a nutshell, eventually what I told her is, look, just network and connect with people. When I was in my early 20s, I wanted to be a primatologist. So I wrote to, 75, 100 primatologists all over the world. Very few of them responded. And one person did respond, and it was Jane Goodall. And her spirit of generosity is absolutely incredible. You could imagine this was 22 years ago. She was already extremely famous. She inspired me since I was a little boy. She still took the time to write me a handwritten note, and I remember this to this day. And she wrote a couple of other notes. And so we have a very special guest right now who wants to share a few thoughts with us. Please welcome Dr. Jane Goodall.
Well, good morning, everyone. And how wonderful to see you all here. So I was just upstairs, and it seemed a bit mean that there were all of you downstairs that I didn't have a chance to say hello to, and to thank you for coming, because WCN Expo is it's something I have been coming to right from the beginning. And I think that we're going through pretty dark times right now as far as conservation, climate, and everything is concerned. And we all need hope, because if we lose hope, if we succumb to the dark forces, if we only read all the news that's bad, doom and gloom, then what's the point of bothering? Why would anybody try and conserve anything if it's too late? So I think when Charlie Knowles began WCN, it was such a brilliant idea to bring donors, wealthy donors, together with struggling field researchers, so that they could get on with their work, their passionate work of trying to save animals and environments from disappearing forever. So it's always a great joy for me to come to the WCN, to be with Charlie again, to be with all these incredible scientists who are really, really not only working to save wildlife, they are saving wildlife, they are making a difference. It is not too late if we all get together. And WCN brings together people who all care. And when you bring together a whole group of people who care, then it's kind of magic, and things can happen. So, I began working to try and save chimpanzee habitats and chimpanzees back in the early 80s. And I very soon realized that unless you worked with the local people, some of whom are really suffering poverty and lack of good health and education, and started a program called Take Care or Tukari in the villages around Gombe in a very holistic way. And it's worked amazingly. So we have the villages now in all 104 villages throughout the remaining chimpanzee habitat in Tanzania. And all of these villages provide volunteers to come and learn how to use cell phones. And they go into their village forest reserves and they report on illegally cut trees and animal traps and sighting a chimpanzee or a pangolin or a leopard or something like that. And that all goes up to a platform in the clouds, Global Forest Watch. And so it's transparent, so people can see what's happening. And it's changed the attitude. So all these villagers have now become our partners in conservation. And not only do they understand that protecting the environment is not only for wildlife, but also their own future. And we've also given them the tools that they can actually check on and monitor how things are going in their village. So it's been so successful, it's in 6 other African countries around chimpanzee habitat, so that there are forests and chimpanzees out there who wouldn't be there now, but for our Tukari program. So that's so much part of what WCN does. So I'm really happy that I've had a chance to at least say hello to you. And we have this program, Roots and Shoots for Young People, which began in 1991 in Tanzania. And its basic message is every single one of us makes a difference every single day, and we get to choose what sort of impact we make on the planet. And every group of Roots and Shoots, kindergarten, university, everything in between, chooses 3 projects to make this a better world for people, for animals, for the environment. And it's just transforming young people in 60 countries, and we partner with other youth organizations that have the same kind of philosophy. So it's the young people who give me the greatest hope, as well as the amazing intellect that we have, the resilience of nature. Animals can be brought back from the brink of extinction, habitats can be restored. And then there's this indomitable human spirit, the people who tackle what seems impossible and won't give up and succeed. So at the end of every Roots and Shoots program, when we bring people together in Tanzania from around the city, whenever we can, from different parts of the country, to share ideas and to inspire each other, at the end I found that they were saying, together we can save the world. And I said, yes, we can, but will we? So now at the end they say, together we can, together we will save the world. So, and organizations like WCN, which honestly is the only one I know that is really so inspiring and so exciting and so with it and so, inspiring this feeling. So can we all join in that together? Everybody in here, together we can. Together we will. Thank you, Charlie.